Right now we'd like to feature a very, very strong man on organ piano. Oh, who did you say? Jackie Mittoo. Yes. And he's going to ask the question, who done it? Who done it? Reggae man, reggae. Reggae man, yes man.
All right, everybody. Let's do a little audio check. Can you guys hear Mr. Jason Wilson here?
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, it looks like we can hear you, Jason, loud and clear. So,
Nice.
thank you for joining our tribute. I know that Jackie Mittoo meant a lot to you over the years, and I really haven't fully kind of been put into what the background that you guys had. But from what I understand, you were a little bit of a protege of Jackie when he lived in Canada in I guess the 80s, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Unfortunately, it was too short. Really, it was nearing the end of his life, his way too short life. Actually, it kind of freaks me out that I'm way older than he was when he died now, as so many of us are. It was crazy. But at the time, he's the legend, and he seems like 1,000 years old when you meet him at that age, right? Like you just he had so much to give. To answer your question, Jay, basically, he'd worked with my cousin in UB40 and helped produce their big Labor of Love album with Red Red Wine and all of that. And my cousin in UB40 said, Jackie's in Toronto, man. You should just call him up. Call him up, Jay. Call him up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm some guy you've never heard of. My cousin said to call you up and see what could happen. That's exactly what I did. And the rest is history, I guess. We became fast friends. And he changed my whole approach in a very short time. He produced Tabarook, so my band before I became Jason Wilson. You know what I mean. He produced our first cassette, and with Willie Williams was on that, and Charles Sinclair from Messenger, and it was brilliant. I mean, it was it was way too short, but it was a brilliant time in my life. I was 18, 19. Never forget the day he passed. Got to visit him in Wellesley a couple of times when he was on the way out. And even then, so much to impart, and a lot of humor on the way, too.
That's great. And I think, for someone like myself who knows Jackie through, the stories, through the music, mostly through the Studio One stuff, and some of the Canadian produced stuff, I know Jackie more as like a a studio musician. But we just saw this really great clip of him playing live, and it was like he was the Jimi Hendrix of the keyboard. Could you kind of speak about like maybe when you met him, what he was doing in a live sense, or what he was really doing in Toronto at the time?
He was just a ham. So he's absolutely an entertainer. I don't know that. To your hypothesis, Jay, it could be true. He might have been a studio guy and then came out of his shell in the live setting. But I didn't know him at that point. For me, he was just a showman right off the bat. I'll never forget us playing with UB40, like just at a party in a hotel, and him and I at the same keyboard, and he had this big crazy green neon wig on. Just like over the top, and a rock star in a sense, right? Like in that sort of showy way, in a funny way too. I miss the greatest story I've ever heard. I think Carl Harvey told me. It might have been Carl. And I would have loved to have seen it. He shuffled, and I mean, lots of musicians watching tonight. Jay, you too. You can imagine the shuffle, the reggae shuffle, up and down, and apparently he did it with 2 empty bottles of scotch on the top parts and kept the shuffle going. Like, I would have loved to have seen that. That's kind of gold there. But I saw some crazy things.
Well, you know what? This maybe do a little bit of a segue, because I think we just started, and I wanted to make sure we definitely touch on some music. But one of the ways I was exposed to Jackie's music was through the tributes that you had put on in Toronto, and I thought maybe this would be a good time to actually play a track from that live recording that I found, and maybe you could just set this one up, Jason, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, Jackie Jackie generated so much interest that past his life. I wish he could have seen more of it during his life, of course, but Lily Allen, of course, had the big hit with one of Jackie's rhythms, and we decided to do it with guest vocalist Maya, who's fantastic, and I hope she's watching. It's a shame, like I say, that so many people came to know Jackie after the fact, but at least they're doing that. So and shout out to Lily Allen too for honoring Jackie in that.
Well, listen, let's play this right now, and we'll be back in a second to talk a little bit more with Jason Wilson.
Even last year, we're talking about an international Billboard hit. Y'all know Lily Allen? One of her biggest tracks on a Jackie Mittoo rhythm. And we're pleased to introduce the lovely Maya Chilton, who's going to sing that song for us right now.
What you
All right, we're back with Jason Wilson. So tell me a little bit about the tributes and what was the inspiration for keeping his legacy alive, other than just your heartfelt love of him. I guess it's trying to expose new people to his music.
Yeah, absolutely. I found that. Well, I guess it started to freak me out.
I don't hear you yet.
Oh, should be on. Got me? I should be there. No?
I'm not hearing you. Do you have a monitor that's not on?
1 second.
Can you hear me, Jason?
I can hear you, yes.
You can hear me?
I can, yeah.
For some reason, I can't hear you. Let me just see what I'm doing wrong here. Can you hear me, Jason?
I can.
Let me go to another little rare video here, and we'll come back with Jason in 1 second here.
Okay.
Used to be depending a time back on producers who owned everything. Artist, studio, song, everything.
In the 60s we never had any control because there was no copyright situation in line of rhythm tracks. But after one session which we used recently, I produced a group in England called Musical Youth. And we use an instrumental to play my vocal. That's what we come up with. You know that one?
Yeah, man.
That was a rendition I'm talking about that. Name. Pass the Dutchie.
This catchy Dutchy thing, I'm the one who made that instrument called Full Up. You know?
An instrumental track.
It was an instrumental song, right? And the Diamonds put words to it. And Kachi, passed the Kachi, yeah? The guys made pass the Kachi. Right, so these are kind of ways now that I'm starting to get some residuals from things that I did.
I made sure everyone who played in the original rhythm section got a piece of the action, which was like people like Robbie Lynn, Eli Sybil, Eddie Bennett. Tune that was up. And we had it go. Diamonds made another rendition of that go.
So we're back with Jason.
Hello.
I guess they could hear you. So we're back with Jason. Tell me a little bit about so I can hear you. I guess they could hear you. So
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
tell me a little bit about so I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. So one of the problems is that there's a little bit of delay on the broadcast. So there's that. So yeah, Jason, tell me a little bit more what you can share about your experience with Jackie.
Well, I suppose the two things was how quickly he made me a better player, how quickly he made me a better musician. I'm not kidding. It was 5 seconds, really. I've told this story a million times, but when he came to the studio for the first time to record on that first EP we did, I had Jackie Mittoo coming, right? Like, I wanted to impress the crap out of him, right? Like, this little Scottish-Canadian kid, I can bubble, I can shuffle, right? And so when he walked in, I timed it. Like, I kind of prepared. This was Carl Harvey's studio up in North York. And I kind of had it timed. So, like, I was going to be shuffling when he was walking in. I said, oh, hey, Jackie. Hi, how are you? And I'm wildly flailing. And I'm thinking, I look amazing. This is just brilliant, right? And Jackie didn't say a word. He just came behind me and grabbed my elbows, right? And he pulled my elbows into my ribs. And suddenly, my bubbling was like 86% better, more accurate. I wasn't missing nearly as many notes. So it was like that. He made me a better player. That's one thing. The other thing is just how hilarious he was. You know, even on his deathbed at Wellesley Hospital, you know, I showed up and he rang for the nurse right away. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And the nurse comes running in. Jackie, what can I do for you? And the nurse, and Jackie says to the nurse, oh, yes, some strawberries and cream and champagne for my good friend Jason here. And basically, you know, the nurse was like, F off, Jackie, I got better things to do than this, and took off. And the best and most touching part, which was pretty funny, he held my hand and he looked at me and he said, Is you me want to play me in a TV movie about me, all right? And I said, okay, yeah, I can do that. But, you know, there's some discrepancies between us. First off, I'm a little taller than you, Jackie. You know, that's just the way it was. There was that sort of very, very witty repartee all the time, and a musical genius at the same time. Yeah, I've found so many people that are really seriously brilliant can not be that funny. Can be, you know, sort of standoffish a little bit. Jackie was not that, and he was a genius. And just a big open heart, and made me laugh and a better player all at once.
Well, I really appreciate you joining us, and I wish we could spend more time hearing your stories, and I hope that we spend some more time joining us. And I wish we could spend more time hearing your stories, and I hope that we spend some more time. Spend some more time learning about Jackie's life, and we do this more on the regular. And I think there's just so many great songs that you left with us. I'm just excited just to be, going through a lot of his catalog. Is there like one last word you can maybe tell us? Because I think we have a couple other people in the meeting that want to have a few words about their friend Jackie. Is there one thing you can leave us with there, Jason?
Rare album for everyone to check out if they don't know. Jackie Mittoo in London. It's one of his earlier ones. Of course, it was recorded in England. Check it out. It's close to my heart because I lost my dad a couple years ago, and it was my dad's favorite album. So a lot of people know the sort of Studio One stuff, and of course we all should know that. But Jackie Mittoo in London is a brilliant, brilliant album that you should all have in your collection.
Thank you so much. Thanks again, Jason, and I look forward to hearing the new album that you're putting out. I'm excited about your new song with Carl Harvey. That's a really great new track. So I'll be looking forward to hearing that on the radio. Tell us again, what's the name of the song?
Ready to be Loved.
So I'll be looking forward to hearing that on the radio. Tell us again, what's the name of the song? Ready to be Loved. Yeah, that's a great one. All right, thanks again. I'm going to bring in Jay Douglas right now. So thanks again, Jason. We'll talk soon. All right, thanks again. I'm going to bring in Jay Douglas right now. So thanks again, Jason. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Jay Douglas, are you there?
Yeah, you can't see me? Can you hear me?
Jay Douglas, are you there?
Yeah.
No, we can't.
You can't hear me?
We can.
You can?
So
Can you hear?
tell us a little about your experience with Jackie.
Okay. Excuse me, Bruce. Can you hear me?
Your experience with Jackie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Am I handsome enough?
No, maybe turn on your camera.
Okay, hold on.
No, maybe turn on your camera.
Okay, hold on. Post attending Zoom, JK. Zoom.
No, we'll just go quickly to a video.
Used to be depending one.
All right, so we're here with one of the legends of Toronto reggae, Jay Douglas. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm very, very honored to be participating in this very special occasion for Mr. Jackie Mittoo, a very dear friend.
So tell me, when did you first meet Jackie? Was it when he came to Toronto, or was this back in Jamaica?
Back in Jamaica. Back in Jamaica. Very good question. I met Jackie when I went to audition at Studio One.
Oh wow.
And at the time, he was the youngest member of the Scatterlights. And it was very interesting that day. I went for audition with other artists, but it was interesting to see this young man, with all those great men. And can I share a little piece with you?
Yeah, yeah. Lean back a little bit because you're getting cut off a bit. Go ahead. There you are. There it looks good.
This is interesting. Those days at Studio One, when they did session, the Scatterlights was the studio band, and Coxon with his 4-track machine. They would, in the morning, just get outside in the yard of the studio and smoke, drink. Great time. Now I look back, and they would cook too. Same place there. And they ate, and early, hot summer afternoon, time for music and young artists who were going for the first time. And then they would run session with other artists, Andy and Joey, Jackie Opel and other artists. And when they take a break, this was something that's very interesting. When they take a break from the session, everybody could leave that studio except Jackie Mittoo. He had to sit at that piano, and the leader of the Scatterlights, Tommy McCook, you heard of Tommy McCook,
Yeah.
played the tenor. He would go over to Jackie at the piano, and every note he played, ba-ba, 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 Jackie had to play those notes back. And he would drill Jackie Mittoo for at least 10, 15 minutes. Then he would go for a break. I've seen that. Unbelievable.
So they just wanted him to get it right, or just that they needed him to punch in some overdubs?
No overdubs. That is way of getting them ready for the future, because they saw the talent in it. And he was the youngest, and this is the older man passing off the baton from that early stage. It's like me. I'm a band leader in Toronto, and I get a lot of good players from the institution, York, Humber. And I'm so happy for that. It's my duty and responsibility to share the truth with them and love. Let them play, because they've already trained a lot. And another thing we all need to know about Jackie Mittoo, he had such an ear for the music. There's a word for it, when you can hear the music and tell the key that it's in without even touching the instrument. You know the
Perfect
word.
pitch.
Perfect pitch.
That's a skill.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Not
for sure.
too many people are blessed with perfect pitch. This man is incredible. And so when he came, I came to Canada before he did. When he came and I saw him at the Whiff Club and we were talking, I reminded him about it. He couldn't believe. He didn't even remember I was there, because I was just a young man going there. And we laughed and talked about it. So we had a very special bond over the years in so many ways.
Tell us a little bit about, I guess I'm always curious about Jackie's Canadian life, because, I collect the Studio 145 and he's got, hundreds of those. And then there's a couple of albums that he did do when he came in Canada. He seemed to have a whole other, maybe less documented, maybe sometimes some documented stuff that he did in Toronto at that time. Tell us a little bit about what was going on around then.
Well, what's so interesting? God bless Jackie Mittoo, man. God bless you too, Carol. And, what's so interesting about Jackie Mittoo again, man? When he came here, reggae needed a shot in the arm badly. Guys like Sybil's, Stranger, and I could go on and on. But one thing happened that was so very special, because of how great Jackie Mittoo was. You heard, I don't know if you gentlemen heard of the Canadian Talent Library.
The Talent Library.
Yeah, look it up. At that time, they would raise funds, and they would record certain artists in the city or in the country. You know, they would be the producer, see Canadian Talent Library. And those days, it was not easy to get earplay for reggae music, ska, rocksteady, whatever, even Motown, whatever. But they knew about Jackie Mittoo because he was playing at Bristol Place, many places in Toronto, and Jackie sure could get around. So they decided to produce an album with him. And the arrangement that he did for these music, it was a huge orchestra, reggae music orchestra form. And then they got a lead singer by the name of Vic Franklin. You need to check that album out. And then at the time, the radio station here, CFRB, was the #1 radio station across Canada. Betty Kennedy, Gordon Sinclair, those cats. Then they started to play reggae because it was the way Jackie arranged these reggae songs. It was very palatable, tasty. Perfidia, quite a few other songs I was not able to name. And they were did in an orchestration form. And that's how we started to get eartime from the #1 radio station in Canada, CFRB, because of Jackie Mittoo. Go look up those reggae, man. You'd think you're dancing at the symphony. Unbelievable.
So I was talking to a couple different people today, and one what I thought was interesting was Carl Mullins was really involved in Jackie's career. I talked to Patrick Roots today, and he was telling me about how Carl Mullins had set up some interviews. You know, I know Carl was a big player at those days. Was he as like an impresario for like people like Mittoo? Like, was he in the mix? Sort of.
Yeah, they were very. Yeah, Carl and Jackie was very close, very, very close. Also, Pablo Paul, the drummer from Cougars, which the group I played in. Pablo Paul and Jackie Mittoo was, because some of the gigs, if Joe Isaacs wasn't playing drums, it would be Pablo, man. Even in session, the Bristol Place, all these nice, beautiful, fancy hotels, man. Jackie had these gigs, and those days, 6 nights a week, Monday to Saturday. And those were good gigs, man. And Pablo would play drums in some of these gigs with Jackie, but they were very close. Jackie was close with Tanimo, and Carl, oh man, you know, and I was a part owner of a club in Brompton called Eleganza, and we had Jackie there on Boxing Day night, man, and it was an amazing. I wish I had the vision then was to video that show. You know, he was amazing. This man, what I loved about him was his enthusiasm, his spirit, in music, eat, sleep, breathe, think. Anywhere he goes, the little that I know about Jackie Mittoo, he's always making music. Where's Jackie? He's in New Jersey making music. Is Jackie there? No, he's in London. Anywhere he goes, he finds a studio and he's making music. What a gift.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, no, I'm blown away by how many people wanted to be a part of this event, and I just wanted to just keep the spirit of Jackie alive. I really feel like he's someone in Canada that we need to really celebrate, and it's sad that he had passed. I did want to make sure we touched on some more music. Since you have like a little bit of a ska roots, I was going to play a little bit of a ska song to lead us out. Is there any final words that we can? You can impart on us about Jackie?
Before you go, I'd like to thank you and your supporting cast for doing this, because sometimes, we're in Canada here, we don't document and as we should. Now we start to, but it's nice that we're doing this. I wish we would do more, not only on his birthday, because he deserved a lot more. And for you to do this, God bless you.
Well, we're trying. We had some technical difficulties, and we're working it out. And you know what? I just hope that this is just in au lieu of doing these live events that I know you were part of some of the tributes to Jackie Mittoo, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back on stage, and hopefully this summer we'll see you at the exhibition if that happens.
Looking forward, man, and keep on doing what you're doing, because we need this in Canada. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is the last frontier that reggae hasn't busted the way it should. But it's going to happen now, especially with COVID. A lot of good things are coming out of it. And Jackie, he's amazing. Talking about the ska, one of my favorite songs that he recorded was "Who Done It."
Oh, nice.
Who done it?
Well, on that note, I'm going to play some more music. Again, Jay Douglas, you're a legend, and I appreciate you joining us today. And I look forward to talking to you more about Jackie and working on some projects in the near future. Thanks again, and on that note, I'm going to play a little bit of ska from Jackie Mittoo.
God bless, and God bless you all.
to re-record it. And that was a big hit for them as well in Europe.
What about UB40 now?
UB40, they had been doing very good for themselves before making reggae music. And as far as publicity across the world, up to now, they have been like internationally recognized as a foreign group outside of Jamaica, as great exponents of the reggae rhythm. And they're good friends of mine as well. I met them in Birmingham right around the same time I was doing a project with the Musical Youth, which we had a hit record at the time called Pastor Dutchy. So this hookup got me involved with Birmingham all the way, so I was introduced to the UB40 crew. Right there, the first day after being introduced, we went in the studio and did a whole album. They were doing an album called Labor of Love.
and they asked me to play on that. Did about 6 songs, including the Red Red Wine.
Yeah. Which is currently a hit again.
After all this time, man.
Reggae man, reggae.
All right, I have a very special guest right in Jamaica. And so I wanted to bring on Brick Rose here, who actually is a big fan of Jackie's, thrown some Studio One and Jackie tributes in Jamaica, also in New York. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, my pleasure.
Yep.
So I guess I want to just, tell us a little bit of your story and your connection to Jackie.
Okay, so my story is basically I'm just a big Jackie Mittoo fan, Studio One fan. But being a fan of Studio One, you'd have to be a fan of Jackie Mittoo. He's pretty much is Studio One. I went there in 1992. I did some recording for Cox and Dodd, and just discovering all the music in the vault, just discovering all this wealth of music. And I went there in the 90s, obviously, so that was like later Studio One. So, I'm kind of the baby to the group. And I had a lot of questions, and his name just kept coming up, and a lot of music that I just adored,
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the Jackie tribute shows that you did in Jamaica. Those seem really exciting.
Yeah. Okay. So we did a tribute March 29th, 2000. I got my posters up and everything. I'm in the festive mood now, right? So we had a tribute, and I want to acknowledge the artists that were there. We had Robbie Lynn, we had Ibu Cooper, Dalton Brownie, Wrong Move, Boris Gardner, Nambo Robinson, Charles Farquharson, Lloyd Parks, Dean Fraser, Chinna Smith, Horsemouth Wallace, Reuben Gale, Bongo Herman, and Bongo Joe. Those were all the musicians that came out for the night. And we also had the New Heptones and the Mighty Diamonds and Isla Bash and Emperor Faith. Those were the artists.
Wow, that sounds like it would have taken 2 or 3 days for all those artists to play.
It was good. It was a blast. They were like having fun like children. They just were exchanging instruments and playing on and off, and it was good. It was like a perfect night. It was good.
I mean, I think that's amazing how music continues to bring people together, and someone like Jackie's repertoire still, has that effect to bring camaraderie and people together. Tell me a little bit more about just like, when you went to Studio One and recorded, like, tell me about the specific rhythms that you picked and, like, why those spoke to you.
Okay, so the first song I picked out was High Fashion. I just was in love with the high fashion rhythm, and I didn't even know that Freddie McGregor actually sang Bobby Babylon. I didn't know anything about Bobby Babylon, and it just so coincidentally happens that me and Freddie McGregor wrote about the same topic. So he wrote Bobby Babylon, and I wrote Bye Bye Rebel. That's the name of my song on the High Fashion. And then I did the Tonight Rhythm, Frenemies. I love Darker Shade of Black, Autumn Sound, Wall Street. Those are some of my favorite ones. Hot Milk,
Well, maybe this is kind of a good segue to talk about some of the rhythms that Jackie wrote that end up being like, other songs. Like, for example, like Peeny Wally end up being turned into Duppy Conqueror by the Wailers. There's Armageddon Time, that rhythm. There's lots of great songs on that rhythm. I can think of like, the Mighty Diamonds sing Past the Cutchie, turned into Musical Youth, Patch the Dutchie. Is there any other of those rhythms that you can sort of think of that you mentioned some really great ones?
Wow, there's still they're all cluttered up and there's so many up in there to mention. I can't think of any right now, but I'm sure I know of many of them, but I'm drawing a blank.
Well, one of the things I always admired about the Studio One days, especially, was someone like Sugar Minott kind of came back and said, "Oh, those rhythms, let's reuse them," and created hits.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones, "Breaking Up" rhythm, Alton Ellis.
Right.
That turned into "Give Me Jaja" by Sugar Minott, and I know Jackie Mittoo did a lot of work over the years with Sugar Minott, and I guess I feel like I really connect with you because I'm a promoter, a musician, and just in love with that sound, and want to kind of be a part of it and write myself into the story, but also kind of continue and share that. So. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time, and I think we're going to keep connecting to see if we can keep growing the Jackie Mittoo community. Tell us before we let you go just a little bit about the Facebook group that you run and the community that you build. I think it's a pretty big group. We'll get all these people joining us.
The Jackie Mittoo, we love Mittoo too. Yeah, I started that around the time that we did the tribute, and it's just a place where we can link up and share pictures and memories and, just keep the fire burning, keep the Jackie fire burning.
Well, thanks again for joining us, and we're going to keep connecting. I'm going to try to place some of those rhythms, and I really like your track again. Tell us again, it was called Rebel.
Bye Bye Rebel.
Bye Bye Rebel.
Next time, or maybe next year, I did a poem for Jackie called "Who Done It," and the poem is made up. All the words in the poem are made up of songs that Jackie did. So next time I'll do that for you.
Oh, that'd be amazing. So you know what? Actually, I got another friend of Jackie who's going to join us right now. It's Larry McDonald. He's a percussion player. So I'm going to bring him on. Brick Rose, lots of love to you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up again soon. Thank you again.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we got Larry here. Can you hear us, Larry? Can you hear us, Larry? Uh-oh. Can you just double check your volume's up? Can you guys hear in the chat? Can you hear Larry talk? Can you say something there, Larry? Mic check. Here in the chat, can you hear Larry talk? Can you say something there, Larry? Mic check.
Show me the alley. Show me the trail.
Joan Baez took to Canadian airwaves and called for peace. Around the same time, a wave of pioneering reggae artists arrived in Canada to start new lives. Among the newcomers were three ambitious Jamaican musicians.
When we had to play a little this or a little that, we used to try to maintain the reggae thing,
And at a time when Bob Marley's star was still rising, a Jamaican legend named Jackie Mittoo led these artists and others to create a Canadian reggae scene. And in 1976, Jackie brought island rhythms to CBC audiences on the talk show In Touch, Colwood.
Give me back me shilling with me lion bunny. Lion bunny, lion bunny. Give me back me shilling with the lion bunny. Girl, you must take me for a fool. Give me back me shilling with the lion bunny, with the lion bunny, the lion bunny. Give me back me shilling with the lion bunny. You take me for a fool. Give me back me shilling with the lion bunny.
My first time meeting Jackie Mittoo was at Studio One in Kingston, Jamaica. And very rhythmic, very creative. And for what he has done, that shuffle, yeah, different, still going today.
Jackie put his whole everything in it. So really seeing him right now, it gives me a great pleasure to speak about him and let the world know exactly who he was and his mission. But
Jackie Mittoo means a lot to a lot of reggae musicians. He had the ambition to take the music as far as one could take it. Came here to Canada for the opportunities.
Toronto's International Airport, typical scene. Out of all this, a microcosm, the beginning of a new life for this young man. He doesn't know it yet, but for him, coming to Canada will mean a whole new lifestyle. But why has he come? What does he want? What does he hope to achieve here?
So to give you an idea, at the end of the 60s, there's something like 30,000, 35,000 blacks in Canada. In the next 2 decades, 100,000 black Jamaicans come to Toronto.
Back then, in Jamaica, there are so many gifted and talented people, but too few opportunities.
But of course, as a musician, you want to make it.
So we came here expecting to be signed by a major label, because that was the ultimate ambition. Canada seemed to offer that to us.
You know, Toronto's always been fairly the music center of the country, but not a whole lot of place for black Jamaican at that time. So it was a matter of them trying to carve out a place for themselves.
In life, there are challenges. It was not easy for reggae and the rocksteady and all to get accepted. It was not easy for the music.
Yes.
The radio stations weren't.
That's it.
We would call certain radio stations, ask them to play it, and they will tell you, we don't play that kind of music.
That's the reason why you find that musicians who stayed in Jamaica, who didn't leave the island and stayed in the industry, became more popular than us.
Yes.
That's right.
So to survive, you had to play a lick like this, a lick like that. But because of Jackie, he changed it around.
Jackie Mittoo. He was one of the inventors of the music from Jamaica. So he came here to put his ingredients here in the music so we could continue.
Hold on a sec, I want to get my earphone.
He's showing other Jamaican musicians that come to Toronto, it can be done. There is something we can do here. Those first 3 albums, A Wishbone, Reggae Magic, and Let's Put It All Together, which is back to back to back. Reggae made in Canada with Jamaican legend.
When Jackie Mittoo and Lord Tanamo perform on CBC, that's Christmas for the community, because we didn't get a lot of that opportunities.
They must have been excited. It's nice to know that it's happening. It's making all of us. They're getting more exposure. And as we go along, it grows. It spreads.
Oh, let the power from Zion fall down. Let the power.
Stroll through Kensington Market any Saturday morning, and you're bound to hear the blaring coming from these speakers. It's reggae music. And if you think that's something foreign coming from Jamaica, think again. It also comes here in Toronto.
Live it, live it, live on. Live it, live it, live on.
Without Jackie Mittoo, there is no golden age of Canadian reggae. You know, you put it in the oven for a decade or so, and out comes Messenger, The Satellites, 20th Century Rebels. Get up! A whole slew of other artists. They're all sort of following the same linear path that starts with Jackie.
The roots will always be there. Yes, it's been planted well. It's been watered and treated well. You know, and today we have different stems of it. So today we have dub music, you have steppers, and you name the different, you know, areas of what comes out of the music, the roots of the music today. It will never go away. The Jackie Mittoo lives on. He lives on.
Like the natives do.
And yes, and now we're live with legendary percussionist, friend of Jackie Mittoo. And yes, and now we're live with Larry McDonald. How are you?
I'm fine, Jay. We finally figured out a way to get this done, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think the audience can hear you. So let's keep rolling. So yeah, we had a great conversation earlier just about how you met Jackie in your first early days in Jamaica. Can you tell us a little bit about those days?
Do we have enough time? I met Jackie when I was with the Sheiks, just a little bit before the Sheiks broke up. And the Sheiks and the Virtues were two bands run by a manager called Bill Gentles. And Bill was the one who I met Jackie through Bill. And how I knew Jackie was when we used to go to the country to play. I used to have to call his grandmother and tell her that he's not coming home tonight. We're going to the country, but I'll make sure that he goes to school in the morning. But he was still in short pants then, okay? but everybody was like wanted Jackie to play, you know. He was like new kid on the block and very promising. So he was working with both the Sheiks and the Virtues.
And this would be the lead up to Jackie, say, maybe being a part of the whole ska movement.
Oh, well, he eventually joined the Scatolites, and the rest is history. You know, he was with them in the studio one day, and they decided to put the Scatolites together, and then they went on the road. Instead of being just a studio band, one of the guys, I think it might have been Lester Sterling, suggested that let's put our nibs. Look, I don't want to say for sure, but somebody said we should put the band together, and they did that. They were together for like about 3 years. Then they broke up for 19 years and reformed in 1983 at Sunsplash.
So
you can see what that sounds like on the Sunsplash video. Sunsplash 83. That was the original Cool Runnings. That's the title of it, Cool Runnings. Not the bobsled team. That came later. It was the 1983 Sunsplash was Cool Runnings.
So you know what I always thought was really interesting about, say, your career is that mirrored Jackie's. You know, Jackie started in Jamaica and then kind of created a career there, and then moved to Canada and really had a whole other successful career. You know, you end up moving to Mexico and kind of missing the whole rocksteady movement and right into reggae, and then moving to New York and, you know, having an amazing career with, you know, people like Taj Mahal and you know, Gil Scott-Heron. What kind of parallels do you see in terms of just that, you know, ex-Jamaican trying to make his way in a new city and new country?
Well, I had the advantage of being able to play the type of music that they were playing up there, because we were playing that before there was ska, and I lucked out because I got offered a gig to tour with Taj behind an album called More Roots. He had done Johnny Too Bad and Slave Driver on that album. And I met one of his road managers at the Jamaica Tourist Board office. And he offered me to ask me did I want to go on the road with behind that album. So I said, when? So he called me in about 20 minutes and said, could you make a TWA flight to San Francisco tomorrow? I said, I believe so. So I did that for 4 years. And I left. I still have Taj's number, and he still has mine. He calls me when he comes to the city. But I had to leave because they were going to Europe, and I couldn't go. It was a small matter of a visa, which has now been taken care of. So I can say that, you know. So
you know, to kind of segue back into Jackie, I know you're very humble about, you know, all the work that you've done, but I did overhear you say that you did definitely play on the Macca Fat albums and those sessions. What can you tell me about those sessions in particular?
Well, I wasn't really in the studio. I had a job at the Runaway Bay Hotel with Cecil Lloyd. But I had come in, and I had just come back from, I was at Boris Guard at that time. I had just come back from Mexico. And we were hanging, and we went up to the studio, and I did a bunch of tunes. If they could find which tunes were done around Macca Fat, but nobody was like falling over themselves to get a conga player on the record, you know. it wasn't like that. I had to be like, I had to position myself, you know. And
I think that's great, and I think, you know, I liked your telling the story that sometimes you find out that you were the session player on the session on the re-release on the you'd had done so many sessions, and a lot of them were like overdub sessions, and it wasn't until much later did you realize, you know, who the artist and what the actual release was.
Look, I'll give you an example, right? Just a couple of months ago, I did a podcast, and they were asking me, at the end of it, the host said he had this tune, and he thought it was me on it. So I said, send it to me. And sure enough, it was a tune, but I didn't remember it. So I said, who was the producer? And he said, Boris Gardner. It was Casey White, did a song called Man Not Dead, and I did the version. But I didn't know that. I didn't remember or know that until I got asked, until I asked about it a couple of months ago.
That's so funny. So, I like to believe that you're on the Macafat album, just especially by the type of playing that's on there, and I'll play some of those songs in a little bit. I remember you telling me a little bit of a story about running into Jackie when there was a Broadway play about reggae in the early '80s. What can you tell us about those? That meetup.
Oh, it was a play called Reggae, and it was produced by Michael Butler. He did Here, he did Pippin. But the trouble was, it opened the same time as the transit strike in the city. The opening day, transit strike. So it closed kind of early. But a couple of people came out of that show. Sherry Lee Ralph was in that. Philip Michael Thomas was in that. Obaba Batunde was in that. Calvin Lockhart had a part in it. So it had promise, but the transit strike, we couldn't fight that.
So was Jackie and yourself? Were you guys in the?
They had brought him down from Canada, himself and Audley Williams, and for whatever reason they used musicians from New York. I think it might have been some union thing,
Yeah, totally. So Larry, I think speaking to you is just wonderful, and I think we should do a tribute to Larry soon. I love hearing your stories about especially working with Gil Scott-Heron, and it was great working with you and Lee Scratch Perry when you guys came to Toronto, and I was tickled to introduce you to son Ray Grennan, who I knew that you had been pals with his father, Winston Grennan. And so let's catch up another time. I really appreciate you joining us today. I think the Zoom call I have set up is going to actually crash here in a second. Is there one last thing you can tell us a little bit about Jackie Mittoo that that maybe not everyone knows?
I don't know. Why didn't you ask me that today so I could come up with something?
Well, I think you did say that he'd like to have a drink here and there, and you guys got into a little.
Oh yes, he'd have a tipple. He liked his little drink. He and Audley, when they came down, when we were at rehearsals, on break time, there was like a bar right across the street. And that's where you could find us.
Well, Larry, listen, it was a pleasure calling you, getting to speak with you, and sharing stories about Jackie. We're going to play a little bit more music, and I know you're on some of these tracks, so thanks again for being a part of it, and we'll talk soon.
Show me
time back on producers who owned everything. Artist, studio, song, everything.
In the 60s, we never had any control because there was no copyright situation in line of rhythm tracks. But after one specific occasion, which we used recently, I produced a group in England called Musical Youth. And we use an instrumental to play my vocal. That's what we play tune say. You know that one?
Yeah, man.
It was right. Well, that was a rendition I talking about that. Name Pass the Dutchie.
This Dutchie thing, I'm the one who made that instrumental song called Full Up. You know?
An instrumental track.
It was an instrumental song, right? And the Diamonds put words to it.
A lot of people won't get no supper tonight.
All right.
A lot of people going
Thank you guys for
to
sticking with us during this whole thing. I'm going to play some more Jackie to take us out. This was a little bit of an experiment. Let's see what I can pull off. And I'm grateful that we got to do something. It wasn't exactly how I planned it, but I do want to thank Jason Wilson, Larry McDonald, Carol Brown, Jay Douglas, Brick Rose. I always have a hard time with the first name. Brick Rose. I can't wait to hear that poem of yours. And I'm going to play just a couple of 45s and some songs of Jackie, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
A lot of people will be running and hiding tonight. Said a lot of one gonna run and hide tonight. Cause it's your action. You must get your fraction in this iration. It's Armageddon. A lot of people won't get no supper tonight.
Here comes Jackie Mittoo, the champion of the arena.
I always like this track. A good set starter. All right. I'm going to keep playing some selections of Jackie. Thanks for being here and sticking with us. We're going to keep building this video kind of show that we're trying to pull off. And I see you, Tanya Mullins, and lots of love to you. Congrats on your new radio gig. I like hearing you on this radio. And Marcia, lots of love to your father. Thanks for tuning in. My man Ozzy, Break Addiction.
To
Right now we'd like to feature a very, very strong man, and